It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
So speaking of 529s, Slim Dog asks a question. Any tips on making sure you have a proper slide path for your investments in a 529? With bonds getting hit, it seems like even a target date retirement fund may or may not be a great option. What do you guys think of this?
Yeah, I mean, I like slide path because that makes me think of Bo playing some baseball and sliding into home plate. But I think what Slim Dog, once again, go Dogs, is talking about here is that glide path where when you buy any type of target retirement fund, as well as a lot of these age-based 529 options, they will start off very aggressive while your children are young and decades away from college. And then as they get close to college, that glide path will bring them down to become very conservative to where hopefully a lot of liquidity. And what Slim is bringing up here is that a lot of these funds have had issue in the fact that bonds have not been exempt from the volatility of the financial market downturn that we're currently experiencing. But here's the good news. A lot of these plans, it's not just bonds. They also have a lot of cash equivalents. Mm-hmm. And as your kids, I know the glide path of the plans I've used for my daughter, they've handled some of this most recent volatility pretty good for my daughter who's about to go to college because it has a lot of cash and equivalents. Yep. And then, like I said, and as I shared on today's show on education planning and funding, you are coordinating your 529 with the tax credits. You're also coordinating it with financial aid. So there might be some strategy on when you actually are using the 529 assets with market cycles as well. So that you can, if you didn't use the glide path the way you should have, or you're more focused on only being in total market funds or just a stock or equity portion of the portfolio, you might have to become a little more strategic. But I think the glide path actually handled it pretty well.
Yeah, the thing that I would add to that is I'd be careful. So I'm going to say one thing, but I'll put a disclaimer on it before I say it. Be careful, like over analyzing something and giving yourself analysis paralysis and doing nothing. Yeah. All right, with that caveat, it is always a good idea to kind of know what it is you're investing in, know what you're buying. Not all 529s are created equally, and not all age-based options are created equally. So a really interesting thing to do would be to go look at, okay, my age-based option inside this plan, what is that allocation? And how does that compare? I'll use two examples. If I'm looking at the Utah 529 plan, how does that compare to the same age-based allocation for the Alaska plan? And are they markedly different? So if I look at like 3, 4, 5 of them, is mine sort of in line with the others, or is mine taking some crazy wonky idea of what they're trying to do? And if they are, why are they doing that? So I'd kind of understand what my glide path is and why specifically the management team implementing that is doing that. So that, it may be Vanguard or T. Rowe Price or whoever, someone is making those decisions. I would just kind of read the literature and figure out what they're thinking and does that align with your thoughts on where that money should be. The other thing I would encourage you to think about is most 529s, not most, a lot of 529s will have age-based options, but even inside that strata, they'll have different delineations. They'll have the aggressive age-based option, the moderate age-based option, and the conservative age-based option. I do a little analysis in my girls' plans that, okay, well, what they define as aggressive is a little bit different than what I define as aggressive. So that I may have a little more comfort with the allocation of that age-based option and that glide path than their moderate or conservative one. So you can kind of look inside of the actual offerings inside your plan to determine, okay, which one do I feel the best about?
So we did a show, because we've been doing this content since 2006, and when we went through the Great Recession of 2008, I know there were some articles we covered content on that actually went through the stress test, all these different portfolios of these 529s to see which one of the glide paths worked better. It is one of those things I want to tell people, though, to be careful, because I encourage you to do what Bo shared, which is I want you to go do your own stress test, do the due diligence to go look at the asset allocations. But then for somebody who maybe your children are less than 12 years of age, I don't want you to overthink it to where you use the current volatility that's going on to ratchet down the equity or the allocation or the structure of that age-based platform that you're choosing because of recent volatility, because it could be a decision that hurts you in the long term. Because yes, we all feel emotionally it stings when you're in a downturn like we are currently. But for anybody who's got children that are probably 12 years of age and younger, this will have worked its way out, and this will just be part of the discussion of you'll remember, just like I just talked about, hey, you remember the Great Recession of 2008 and 9 and how that impacted things. You can look back on this and remember, hey, remember when we cross into the bear market of 2022? It will just be part of history, and it doesn't necessarily have to derail your education funding for your children.
Love it.